Hello and welcome back to yet another SuperCoach Edge installment of Damo's Team Talk. Always a pleasure to have you joining us. This time we are going live. If you are tuning in, of course, via YouTube. If you listen to this via podcast, down the line, we will live. So, of course, we are coming out of round 22 and, geez, it's getting ever so close to the season. End of the season. I've been saying this for the past few weeks, but I'm probably saying it with a bit more relief now because I've been knocked out of a few cash leagues, and as it turned out, I actually forfeited virtually a couple of cash leagues due to the fact that I'll get into it in a moment, of course, but my planned trade, my last trade I was going to use on bringing Phillipou into my team. As it turned out, he was a late out, which completely scuttled my team. I was looking at a reasonable score, and just wasn't to be. So I just figured that one of the main cash leagues that I'm still in was through to the prelim. Had the week off, of course, and I was like in the dilemma. I'm like, do I use my last trade to bring in some like a Keys, who I wasn't too crash hot on, but still was scoring quite well in good form, or do I just save that trade and go into the main cash league in the prelim week and hopefully use it then? So I opted for the latter, and as it turned out, I probably would have won against the two teams that I was facing this weekend. So anyway, without further ado, let us have a look at how we scored for the week. Nothing too crash hot, of course. And I will get to those comments as they're coming through in a moment. I can see them flowing through. So as you can see there, ended up scoring a 2,478. So pretty shitful, really, all in all. Not good. Not good at all. Now slid back 61 spots to now sit 4,056 overall. As you'll find out in the weekly episode that Liam and I will record hopefully tomorrow night, Monday night, he's actually had a better week than me again. I'm like the fourth or fifth week running, so I'm virtually at a point now where I'm starting to look at AFLW fantasy and NFL fantasy, such as my interest levels at the moment. The team just gone to shit, despite the fact that I had upgraded my team as of, 4 weeks ago now, and it's performing worse than it ever has. So it's just super frustrating. And yeah, it's at a point now where I'm just scratching my head and I'm like, well, what do I do? There's virtually nothing I can do apart from try to hold on in this last cash league and try and eke some bit of coin out of that. So we'll see how we go. But as I said, not too good. So let us have a look at how our team breakdown looks, which is pretty shit overall, really. Let me just zoom this in so I can see it a little bit better. So starting from defense, Sheasel, he was my top VC, who I ended up locking in as my captain, as you can see there. Scored the 122, and I probably could have risked it on Bont. He was kind of my backup, or Butters, either one of those two, and I was kind of more keen on Bont compared to Butters. But of course, with Bont having that, whatever issue it was during the week at training, under an injury cloud again, I was running the risk because, of course, the previous couple of occasions that he's had this issue, whether it be illness or, injury niggles, he's come out and smashed it. So I was like, he could do that again, but against Adelaide, hasn't really had the best history. So I backed in Sheasel, locked in his 122 as my VC. Dacos, 66, absolutely putrid. And as you can see, I'll get into it in a moment, but I tried to be a little bit smart. So part of the reason, I guess, the score that I had, the poor score, I only have myself to blame. And it's a really bad situation to be in because you virtually put yourself there, and, I could potentially be looking at a score surpassing the 2,600 mark if I wasn't too cute. But I'll get into that in a moment, of course. But I did link in with Dacos, who scored a 66, who I had the option of potentially looping and having on the bench first up. Of course, played the first Friday night game against the Swans. Stupidly, I didn't do it. I thought, yes, of course, James Jordan's going to go to him. But I thought he was going to score at least, around about his floor score of 100, but it wasn't to be 66. Luke Ryan, he is a very, very frustrating player now because his past couple of weeks, he's actually been scoring quite well. 156 out of the blocks, incredible. I was actually, if I had the trades, and I think I said it last week, potentially, if not in the main episode proper, that if I had trades up my sleeve, I'd be trading him if I had, the trades, obviously, and the money to do so. But yeah, 156 for him really does show, I guess, the swings and roundabouts of SuperCoach. 1 minute you know top of the world, and then you go into score shit, and then you're scoring well again. And like I guess players like Matty Rowell is an example of that. Turned his form around in recent weeks. Marshall's another one, Rowan Marshall. Yeah, it's a frustrating game with SuperCoach, as you know. In defence, moving on to Wanganeen Miller, 105, which is virtually his regulation floor score. So we'll take that. Houston 111 was pretty okay. I'll take it, considering that he's had some pretty bad floor scores. So lock that in. Yeah, we'll run away with that. Nick Martin was my 130. So as you can see, I didn't loop Nick Martin. So the reason he's on the bench there is because I was locking in Sheasel's VC score, and I could only do it via Zach Reed. So ended up fielding with Zach Reed and putting the captaincy on him, and of course benching Martin with the emergency, hence the reason there. But Martin 130 looked really good. I think he was scoring pretty ordinary early on, but turned it around late in the game and ended up scoring quite well with the game as close as it was. Before I get into the midfield side of things, let me just go through the comments because there are a few here. Thanks, of course, to all these people for joining me, as always. Jono, good to see you, mate. Hopefully you had a better week than me. Jonas, what the hell happened to St Kilda? Phillipou, you've called him Poo Flipper laid out. His donut cost me a cash league to a clown ranked 40k who boosted to bring in Cherry, and merit by 10 points. That really is a shit show. That is frustrating. Global, what a crazy week of footy indeed. Jonas, Dacos can't score or kick the ball properly when he actually has an opponent. Yeah, I've said that for a fair while as well. Knocked back to 66, so Clary, the pick snorter, could deliver a choke-worthy 38 points on field. Oh, mate. And knowing that in, I guess, context of the fact that you fell short of your cash, or I guess your league opponent, it was a cash league, sorry, you did say, by 10 points, does hurt. Yeah, it always comes down to like one move, and it's a shit of a thing. Daniel Emerton, thanks for joining us, mate. Awesome to see there's still Sunday night content. Easy to drop off when it's this time of year. So much appreciating you doing this. Sorry, I should pop these up on the screen here. Doing this roll-on head-to-head prelim final week. Thank you so much, mate. No, I like to see things through to the end, hence the reason why I'm still going, of course. But I am flagging, as I said, my interests probably the lowest that they could have been. And I reckon Liam, as I said, he's probably on the way up. I'm on the way down. So, yeah, very, very, very frustrating end to the season of what could have been, sliding doors, all that sort of stuff, which I'll get into in a moment. But, let's just hope with my one main cash league that I'm in with the prelim, I can actually go all right. Global, 2,550 with Charlie, Caldwell, Nakos, English, and Jezza. Team full of spuds. I feel you there, mate. No Ryan and no Gorn as well. So you've actually done well considering that, mate. But I assume you've probably got Cherry, which might have helped. If not, you've even had a stellar week, mate. 4 weeks ago, I was around 11k and now sitting around the 3.5k. Yeah, I'm in the opposite direction, which is really shitting me, and I don't know why. Apart from a move I'll get into in a moment. But Jonas, 2,517. So you're all beating me, really. So that'll put a smile on your face. With Poo, Flipper, Donut, and Pig Snorter 30 out in field. Couldn't even use Manners 67 as an E. Yeah, how frustrating. Moving on to the midfield now. Bont, 119. We'll take it. Everyone's got him. Doesn't really matter. Likewise, Butters, 131. Could have opted for him as the captain, as I said, but I preferred Bont. But above all else, wanted to lock in Sheasel. Merritt, 145. I didn't mind him as a bit of an option against Gold Coast, but yeah, here's what it is, really. Sarong, 114. Tom Green, 119. Rosie, 104. Walsh, 89. And Rawlinson, who was my, as you can see here, for those tuning in via YouTube, and I'll explain it in a bit more detail for those tuning into the podcast side of things. So, Rawlinson, the non-playing player from West Coast, was on field. As you can see on my bench there, I had Heaney, 144, of course, with emergency. So I opted, as I said earlier, could have opted to do a little bit of an emergency loophole with Dacos to screen his score. Ended up doing it with Heaney because his past 3 weeks have been putrid, like sub 80 scores or thereabouts. And I was like, you know what? Could be a tough game against the Pies. Up against it. So I put the emergency on him. As it turned out, he scored 144, which I was happy with. So I was like, all right, I'll put Rawlinson on field to loop on his score. And had the option as well to potentially, I guess, bench someone else for McKercher. So I guess relating to Dacos, I could have swung McKercher back potentially if I use the optimize. Don't know if it would have worked though. But aside all else, I could have put McKercher on field. I was like, you know what? Even though it's against West Coast, and I know he could probably score well, I'll leave him there. And that was playing into my mind as well of, I guess having Heaney in the midfield, which it really it comes back to bite you really because you try to be smart and like cute with loopholes. And as it turns out with McKercher, obviously I couldn't put an emergency on another player like McKercher because I'd already used it on Heaney, who I locked his score in. McKercher came out and scored a 146, who, without the emergency, was just there, just staring me in the face like, you're a dickhead. You could have and should have just probably played Heaney on field knowing that Curnow was going to be on the bench. And I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in. Like, I've missed out on 146 points off the back of that move. Yeah, it's just like it feeds into the frustration of the end of the season that I'm having. And, I guess it's like these moves that you can make when you're running low on trades, and I've only got one left, which, mind you, I'd already used on Phillipou, but I had to reverse because Phillipou was laid out. I guess that part of the reason was part of the reason why I swung Heaney into the midfield, because I'd swung Dowling into the forward line in order to trade Dowling to Phillipou. So all of these moves were linked. So if I'd known that Phillipou was out when team sheets were released, I would have obviously played Heaney on field. Dowling not playing, and yeah, that would have been fine. Would have put the emergency on McKercher, playing early. I would have looped his score on. So it would have been a 146 point turnaround of give me a total score of 24? Quick maths. So that would have been my score had I not stuffed around with things, had things not gone against me with Phillipou being a late out. Into that, let's delve into the forward line. I'll skip over the ruckman for the moment. So obviously Dowling, I traded to Phillipou. Given all the other games that had already been played, and we're coming down to the last game, I was sitting in the stands at the Hawks-Carlton game, which was absolutely shit, of course. No surprise there. And SuperCoach was like my outlet. I was like, this is my way to escape the shitness of this game. And I was racking my brain. I'm like, what could I do? Who could I trade to? Obviously, as you can see there, I only have 10.2k in the bank. Couldn't have traded anyone, like Dowling, in terms of who I could grab. To anyone of note, no. I could have, because obviously St Kilda were yet to play. I could have potentially, swung some moves maybe. Had a look at other players, like maybe a Wood. I don't know if I could have afforded him, but I was painted into a corner here. So I was like, you know what? There's no use sticking with the trade that I did with Dowling to Phillipou. Both guys aren't playing. Might as well reverse the trade. And by this stage, Charlie Curnow had been subbed out of the game, or virtually, I guess done for the day. He wasn't subbed, but hurt his ankle, wasn't going to come back on. And I was like, stuff it. You know what? It is what it is. It's the way things are worked out. Stuff it. I'm having a shit day with Carlton. I'm having a shit day with SuperCoach. So I'm just going to leave it as is. So had to gobble up Curnow 17. Shit part to, I guess, shit way to end the round. And as I said, sliding doors, that's the caption of this episode, really, because it could have gone from, a score of, sorry, it should be 146, subtract the 17. So whatever that is, I can't be bothered working out the maths, but on top of the, total score. But yeah, it's frustrating. Forward line, Flanders 93, Zorko 117, Rankin, bit of a kick in the face again. Like, I held him for 4 weeks. Came back and, despite the Crows having a, decent game, they got the win, to their credit. Rankin, 76. Like, the payoff to hold Rankin for 4 weeks was 76. And I could have easily, potentially traded him to someone else. Like, again, it's just a shit part of SuperCoach, really. Caldwell, 55. A lot of people already have him, so, yeah, doesn't really matter. Jackson, 81, which is a shitful score considering that, what's his name? Shrek Darcy was out. yeah, I know he kind of got done, but yeah, really, 81 should have done better than that. And as I said, Dowling had to gobble his, do not play and gobble up Kerno's 17. So that's virtually the state of play. As I said, it was one of those things where I was lucky in my cash leagues, the head to head, the two ones that I ended up losing because the Fortunes, as it turned out, they both had Cherry, they both VC'd Cherry, and I was like, I'm stuffed. And of course, Gorn came out, scored a 177, and like I could have used that trade to trade Dowling to another player, and as it would have turned out, I would have won both of my cash leagues. But I ended up thinking, you know what, I'm just going to forfeit that because there was no guarantee I was going to win. One of my opponents had Bailey Dale, who ended up having a stinker. He was projected for like 120, had like, 46 or 50 or something. Off the back of that, if I knew that was happening, I would have done the trade. So I would have won that game. The other game, I think I would have just got over the line. I can't recall what the final score was there, but yeah, it was a lot of what ifs and sliding doors. So let me go back through the comments. So that was my team virtually. Pretty shitful. Sorry, I didn't go through. Gorn 177. But I didn't go through this next bloke. Part of the reason, I guess, why I could have beaten the other opponent as well is if English put in a half decent score. 85. Are you kidding me? Like, O'Brien ended up having like 50 something. I'm sure he would have almost broke the hitouts record because he had like 50 something hitouts for the game against English. Like, he is the biggest spud of all time. I am very, very close. In fact, I've said it to Liam, but don't know if I'll commit to it. Depending on if he goes to go to West Coast, which I reckon he probably will and probably has signed. Part of the reason why he's performing like a piece of shit. But English with a score of 85, really? Like, in a full game. Just putrid. He's like, as I said to Liam, he's virtually on the never again list for me. Very, very close to being a bit of a sign off on my end to be just not touching him next year. Just burnt me way too hard this year, and it's cost me. It's cost me cash league wins and so on and so forth. It's so shit. Let's roll back through the comments. And we'll round things out as well with VC and Cs, but let us know how you've gone in the chat as well. Where are we? Global. Charlie needs to go, but he's literally worthless, and I only have 11k on top. I can get any player from any line except the ruck worth 407k. Just had a quick look, and I like Ashcroft's not a bad shout actually for that price point, considering what he can output. So don't mind that, Global. I think for me, I'm going to be trading Charlie to, as I said, Phillipou, and it virtually gives me, an extra swing with Dowling that I can swing Heaney into the forward line if need be and swing him and try and not that I probably will not have the bravery, the bravery to loop him again, even though he's got the Friday night game against the Dons again. I probably won't be. I mean, probably could depending on other loops, but yeah. Jono, 2566 for me. Still have one trade as well. Well done, mate. Jonas Jackson solo ruck was beaten badly by Spud Stanley. 81 points. Yeah, I don't understand that either. It's funny, isn't it? Voss Russell, pathetic. Today was a major shit show. Yeah, it was terrible, Carlton today. English beat Grundy 80, and I'll talk about that as well in my alternative channel, of course, Blue Baggers Edge. Go and check that out if you haven't already, because that'll be firing up very, very soon. Jonas, English beat Grundy 85 to 84. It's funny, like both Grundy's like his downturn in form has been crazy, because only a few weeks ago, when we were chatting about like trade options for Gorn, Grundy was up there, like, because he was in some decent form. And how is it he's done a complete 180? English is just English, he's just shit. But like Cherry at that time had like virtually no ceiling scores, and Liam and I were like, even though we prefer Cherry, the one caveat on his game and the asterisk with him is the fact that he doesn't have many ceiling games. And mind you, he's had like, how many 160, 150 plus games now? Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And Marshall you could probably talk to as well. He's turned his form around. He was in a shit run of form and didn't want to touch him. We didn't like Liam and I didn't even really speak about him at great length as an option for Gawn for those people that wanted to trade out Gawn. So credit to him as well. Jono, what a season of footy. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. But yeah, probably more relieved that Carlton's not making the finals because I can't stand watching this shit anymore. It's just, it's. I've said to others yesterday that it was like it's like Stockholm syndrome where you're being held captive and you start to, I guess, become close to the captor and like, you know, it's like that with Carlton where they've been so mentally abusing and they I still turn up week after week to watch their shit show. But yeah, so that's virtually where we're at. We might roll through VCs and Cs and the obviously one trade that I've got. As I said, I might do that now with Curnow because I think he's out for the year now with his ankle. I will say for the next 2 weeks. Even if he does play, he's not going to be of any use. So I think at his price point, Phillipou is probably still the one. I could get someone at 406. Let me see who's around that mark. Don't think there's going to be anyone really. You're not touching grind wise. Tom Powell's not a bad shout, but he's now 425. He's actually turned his season around. Really good role in defence as well at stages. Now they just mocks me with the keys. Yeah, I think he's probably the one. Who was it? Ashcroft, you said. Let's have a look at Ashcroft. But he's a mid only, so I'll have to swing, which is fine. Swing Heaney back into the forward line. Let's just see how that looks. 384. It's actually not a bad shot. Hasn't been scoring the best since he's been playing. This is like his one big score. Yeah, I don't know if I had confidence in him compared to Phillipou. I mean, Ashcroft's going to be a superstar, but yeah. So yeah, let's just go with Phillipou for the time being, and it'll probably stick that way as well. So I'll bring him in. Out goes Curnow. Just wasn't to be. And then what I'll probably do is I don't think Richards is going to play for Collingwood. Hopefully he doesn't, he gets dropped. The easy thing for me to do here, before I go into VC and C, is just with regards to my own team. I could easily put Heaney there if I want to try and loop him. And then I'm not going to be smart with McKercher. McKercher plays the third last game of the round. So he probably plays... who plays early that I could potentially loop? I just want to see the optimize, see if it switches McKercher. Yeah, it does. Actually, no, it doesn't do it via Dawson. It just does it via Martin. So I could potentially try and loop Martin, which is probably something I'll look to do. We'll just undo that. So yeah, I'll go potentially Martin as a bit of a loop, even though he's been scoring well. So it's a bit of a nothing type loop, but you never know. So it means that I'm looping Martin, who I don't even know if it's going to work anyway because actually no, it won't. Because Essendon and Heaney. I don't think that's going to work for me, really. No. I think that's trying to be too cute. Because I'd need a Dowling or a Rebel to play. So, it could work, potentially, if... no, it's not going to work. Don't worry. I'll have to look at that a little bit later. Don't want to hold things up, but yeah, we'll see how we go. Probably try and loop Heaney just because I'm totally expecting him to have an absolute blinder. If that's the case and Richards doesn't play, I will probably I wish there's a way to try and loop English, really. He's that putrid. Which won't work. Because Kruger plays before English. English is going to get absolutely smashed by Cherry. It's going to be hilarious. Hilariously bad for me as an owner and other owners out there as well. Matty Guy, just looking back at the comments. You've said I can trade Kerno to anyone but Rankin. Yeah, probably if you haven't got Moore, I'd go for Dylan Moore. Poo Flipper Jonas Goat, you've said Poo Flipper is weak as a trickle of piss. Don't bring him in. Yeah, it was due to illness, they're saying. So yeah, what a time to get ill. Absolutely cost me in a couple of cashies. But anyway, Zakor Kader, thanks for joining us, mate. Hi, Supercoach 2024 and everyone on the live chat tonight. Can Carlton come back on the top 8? Don't think so, mate. I think Carlton are cooked, mate. Take it from me as a baggers man. We are absolutely done. We are done like a dinner. As hard as it is to say, I think I much prefer us to not make finals because we've been that putrid. So, but I'll just whilst I'm here as well, considering you are a fellow bagger, I'm going to whack the link to my alternative YouTube channel here, Blue Baggers Edge. Just click on that link and you can check it out. I'll potentially do a live after this one, after this actual live here. So go and check it out, and I'll be going live very, very shortly. But yeah, I don't think, just in pure footy talk, I don't think so. Zakor, you did an absolute miracle. Global, you've said I've been a Bomber fan for over 40 years, and I just think we're used to mediocrity, mate. I feel you as a Carlton supporter. I know we've made a prelim and whatever, and we had a good season last year, but to go from those heights down to where we are now is just inexcusable, with the same list virtually, so just piss poor, and I totally feel you, mate. Jonas, Fremantle 8 beating GWS in Sydney, and then they play Port Optus the following week. Carlton need to win both games to get 8th spot, as I expect Hawthorn to win their last 2 and finish 7th. Yeah, I mean, the Dogs have made it a little bit easier, but we'll get back to the Supercoach chat in a moment, but yeah, it's... Carlton aren't going to beat West Coast with their current form. I can tell you now, like Hawthorn played well, but Carlton played the worst I've ever seen them play all season. Absolutely shitful. So we don't deserve to, we being Carlton, of course, don't deserve to be in the 8. Matty Gay, sorry. I have more Heaney, Jackson, Zorko, Flanders. Yeah, I'd go, well, you've already got more. I'd probably say Caldwell and back him off, I guess. I know he's had a bad game, 55, but he's a top 6 forward, I think, if you can't reach Rankin. Yeah. Jonas, Carlton absolutely plain sucked. Essendon just choked 100%. Yeah, that's spot on. Jono, I've already started looking forward to next year. I think I have some more key fundamentals and learnings to bring on. Yeah, I thought that at the back end of last year, and I took those learnings, and it's now got me in a spot where if I just quickly look at my history of my team, you'll see here, I was like making good progress. Then I stagnated like 4K at round 7, and then 2K from rounds 8 to 10, then cracked the 2K by round 12, and then stagnated in the 2K mark from round 13 to round 17. And then around 18, I've just been going backwards. 3,000 all the way down to 4,000. It's just, I just don't get it, really. I don't get it at all. Jonas, anyone know if Brad Supercoach Pro is doing a live stream tonight? Not too sure, mate. He hasn't mentioned anything, but I think a lot of content creators out there are winding things up just because the amount of, just naturally this time of year happens every year. Just the drop-off with viewership, listenership, everything else. So, As Daniel Edmonton said, we appreciate you, mate. You said it's awesome to see there's still Sunday night content. Easy to drop off when it's this time of year. So much appreciated you doing this. But yeah, no, it's one of those things we just want to tick the box, and there's only 3 weeks to go. But part of the reason as well is, and we'll mention it in the episode proper with Liam. But I'm actually heading away to Bali. Good timing for me to get away from Carlton's shit show. I'm heading away to Bali with my fantastic wife on Wednesday. So this week's weekly episode is going to be the last until I return from Bali. So we won't release our very last episode until after round 24, which by then I know people won't tune in, but we'll do it as a matter of courtesy, just to sign things off and thank people for tuning in. So just to, I guess be a bit transparent, there won't be an episode for round 24, the week of round 24, leading into it. So you will get one leading into round 23 this week, but we won't have one next week. So yeah, you'll have to wait for the week after if you wanted to tune in, but we'll do a live then as well, so people can jump on and we'll chat about footy generally and stuff as well, just because SuperCoach is obviously wound down and that'll be the end of it. But yeah, obviously to thank people for tuning in and supporting us across the season as well. But yeah, I'm not too sure, Jonas. And Jono, you've said not sure either. Let us go back and have a look quickly at VC and Cs. So I think we'll go through game by game. So Essendon against the Swans. You could potentially, if you wanted to, go for Heaney as your VC off the back of that big score of 144. Against the Dons, he's passed 128, 83, and 92. So if you wanted to, that 128 came back in round 2 as well. Merritt, you could potentially against the Swans, but you'd think that he gets tagged by James Jordan. But did score the 132 back in round 2 this year. Prior to that, 139 and 57. Who else we got? Giants up against Freo. If Briggs is out, you could potentially, and if what's his name, Shrek Darcy is out, you could potentially go with Jackson as a bit of a smoky VC. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing that, I don't think. Sarong, could you go for him against the Giants? Of course, with all these VC and C options, Liam and I will go through these properly in the weekly episode. No, I don't think you could go for Sarong. Gold Coast against Melbourne. Could you go Gawn against Gold Coast? Scored a 130 back in last year. Prior to that, 88 and 138. So maybe. You definitely wouldn't be going Clary Oliver. Geez, he's dropped off a bloody cliff, that bloke. Could you go Flanders? He's only projected for 79 against the Ds. Only scored a 41, 22, and 62 in his past 3. Obviously not at his peak when he scored those. But his past 2 games, he's actually scored below a ton now. He went for the ton run all the way up to round 20 and has scored below 100 in his past 2. Crazy. Who else could you go? Dacos against Brisbane. No, he probably will get tagged by Berry at a guess. 112, 151 on a 71. He's past 3, so yeah. Don't have any Lions players, but Neil and Dunkley would appeal. Port up against Adelaide. You could go a Butters in the showdown. Scored 124 back in round 8. Prior to that, 134 and 79. So I don't mind Butters. So he might potentially be a VC option, depending on who's available later in the round. Rankin, you could potentially as well. Does he get up and have some stellar form against Port? Only scored a 93 back in round 8. Prior to that, 117 and a 95. So not too bad a form. And then it's St Kilda up against Geelong. No, I wouldn't trust anyone from either side. You could potentially go Tom Stewart maybe if you got, but that's a big risk, even as a VC. Western Bulldogs up against North. English, he's going to go on the bin, so he's not even in consideration. Cherry, if you've definitely got him, he would be my number 1 VC candidate. Who else is there? Sheasel against the Dogs. Scored a 103 back in round 16. Geez, did they play back in round 16? Geez, the fixture's so weird and piss poor, really, with AFL. And then a 103 prior to that, back in 2023. Hawthorn against Richmond. Yeah, there's no one really. West Coast against Carlton. Now, if Carlton were actually a half-decent team for once, you could probably say a Cripps or a Walsh, but no, not touching them at all. And fully expect West Coast to win that game anyway. Zorko is probably another one as well. I didn't mention against the Pies. How did he go last time against them? 127 back in round 3, a 92 and 81. So, yeah, it could be a bit of a left field option as well. Bond, sorry, completely forgot the big man. Bond is probably the main one against North, you would say. 157 back in round 16, 169 prior to that, and a 102. So you'd have to say that he is your number one C option. So it just comes down to the VC. I don't know who I'll go for. Maybe a Butters, potentially, the showdown. Yeah, might say Butters. Butters into Bond for me, but yeah, Cherry's right up there as well if I'd owned him. Let us go back through the questions and comments. Jonas, you've said, Damo, are you and Liam doing a live show tomorrow? At what time? Yeah, we'll try and do it tomorrow. I've got to get on to Liam because I'll be unavailable. Actually, no, we can't. We're not going to be able to do it tomorrow because we're doing... we're having a bit of a family dinner. Liam's coming around here actually, so we could potentially do it here, but yeah, no, we won't have time unfortunately. So Tuesday is probably going to be the day that we do it, but we'll do a live then as well. So look out for it Tuesday, and then we're actually flying out Wednesday morning. So yeah, a bit of a record and then a dash out the next day to Bali. So that will be our live show on Tuesday evening. Otherwise, yeah, it would be a nice way to do it tomorrow evening. Jono, Marshall into Bont for me this week. Yep, don't mind that against Stanley. Marshall should have a bit of a field day, you'd think. Carl, great of you to join us as always, mate. Love having you on. Commiserations to anyone with Kerno on field, which was me. Caldwell was a shocker, but at least he limped to a half century, and everyone's got him as well. Global, if you could pick any player under 407, who would it be? Not a ruckman. I would say Phillipou still. Phillipou's still a number one for me. Because, yeah, he's in good form. He's got the role, all that sort of stuff. So he would be my option. Carl Meany, Shea Bolton always looking for ways to improve his game after giving up completely on second efforts. He's cut back on first efforts now to head of the curve, the people's chant. That's very funny by you, Carl. Appreciate the old chuckle you've given me there. But yeah, he's a player that I would want in my team, proper, and also SuperCoach as well. Even though he was super cheap, there was no way I was getting him in my team, just because he's a frustrating watch, really. Carl, you said Carlton lost brutal. Thought you might have been keeping the lid on, not wanting to get ahead of yourself, but you were on the money, sadly. Yeah, no, we're shit, mate. I've been saying week on week. Just the issues are persistent week on week, and nothing changes, nothing's fixed. Coaches don't make any moves at all, and I mean, to their credit, they were at various stages of the first quarter, which I'll go into this in a bit more broader detail in the Blue Baggers Edge YouTube channel, which I'll go live with very shortly after this, actually. So we might wrap this up in around about 5 minutes or so, this live stream here, and we'll transfer across to there if you are keen to jump on there. We can chat about baggers and AFL and anything else as well, because SuperCoach chat's probably non-existent at this time of year anyway. But yeah, I wish I wasn't on the money, really. Pretty shit by my mob and the coaching staff and players for not showing any heart. And I'm not going to take injuries as an excuse either, because we were playing shit prior to those injuries kicking in, so not an excuse at all. Carl, you've said Mac Andrew, the hero the Suns of the Gold Coast needed, showed a bit of want, wasn't afraid to get amongst it, and the sealer was huge for a side in need of a late game backbone, 100%. I'd love to have that bloke in my team. Incredible leap, incredible athlete as well. So, yeah, credit to him for having the composure to go back and slot that after the siren. Just incredible. Good stuff by him. I think that's about it, ladies and gents. We might wrap her up there, unless you have any other questions, comments, anything you want to chat about. But as I said, we can jump across to my other channel and we can chat there a bit further if you'd like, because I don't want to sort of hijack our SuperCoach Edge channel with just broader Carlton chat especially, but AFL chat anyway. But yeah, we'll jump across there, but I'll whack that link as well in the chat again, so you can easily click on that, jump across, and I'll be going live probably in around about 5 or so minutes, and we'll dissect Carlton's game, go through the stats, everything else as we normally do, review that shitful game, and put a bit of an exclamation mark, or a bit of a full stop, I should say, on the end of that game. Jonas, you have said sneak past Slim by 35 points in Cash League 1. Major underdogs versus Hot Pies next week. Prelim, though. Actually, we might do that. We'll go through... Sorry, apologies. I forgot about that. We'll go through the Cash League results ever so quickly, because one of these, as you can see, I was facing off against Export, and he actually pipped me by 11 points. And if we just go to game day, so frustrating. And it's off the back of a couple of plays, really. English, the main one, 85 is projected for 114, and a Rankin projected for 114, only scored a 76. And then, of course, there's Charlie Curnow. All three of those things killed me. I was actually looking at about a 100-point win heading into Sunday. So just really, really, really annoying, frustrating, everything else. So full credit to you, Export. All the very best to, I guess, for the rest of the finals, mate. Daniel, you are a champion, so... well done to you. As you can see there, we also have, as you said, Jonas, you've beat Slims, so well done to you. 2517 to 2482. And the prelim matchups in that league look as such. So I can hardly read, who went through the prelim, of course, and finished in top spot, facing off against Export. Then we have yourself, Jonas, facing off against Hot Pies, who is rampaging. He beat me in the first week with a score of 2-6-1-4, and it's anyone's game, as you can see there with the result that I had against Export, where I was looking like it was going to have a comfortable win, and ended up losing by 11 points. So that is Cash League 1. Cash League 2, I got knocked out the previous week, and still alive we have is Don is Good, outlasting Big Brad Brisbane Bear, who went down narrowly by 36 points. Finished on top of the table, but out in straight sets, unfortunately. Is Donny's Good goes through to the prelim to face off against Tyrell's Hacks. And then the other result was Small Victories, coming up short to Zoracilla, who beat Small Victories 2-5, 2-1 to 2-4, 8-3. And he goes through and faces a classic team name of I'm the Captain Now, Jake's team. So all the best to you, all of you four there that are still alive in the Cash League number 2. And best of luck, of course, to those in Cash League number 1, yourself included, Jonas. Carl, you've said loss of TDK recently and the spate of in-game injuries do mitigate, I think you said there, but Blues fans and Bombers fans would just be so frustrated. Things look so good. Well, that's the thing, like and again, we'll chat about this in greater detail over on Blue Baggers Edge channel very, very shortly, but yeah, just quickly, TDK, I know the loss of that was massive, but he's really been the only cog that we've lost over the past few weeks, and we've just lost our way. And even prior to TDK getting injured, we actually had some issues prior to that against the Giants, of course, Western Bulldogs, even Richmond, the first half against them didn't look good. Lucky to beat North Melbourne, so on and so forth. So we can't use injuries as an excuse. Now we can, I guess, after all is said and done, because in game we got absolutely killed with the amount of injuries, but it's not an excuse. We performed like shit even before those injuries kicked in. So I ain't buying it. But that's it, ladies and gents. I think we'll end things there. We'll keep this a little bit shorter than usual. Less to talk about, of course. But if you have any questions, comments, all that sort of stuff, let us know. Always happy to help. So hit us up on Twitter, of course, at supercoach_edge. And we'll catch you in the live that we'll be doing on Tuesday night. And of course, feel free to join us then. Always a pleasure to have your company. And as a reminder as well, that will be our last episode because I am going away. Last episode for a couple of weeks anyway. because I'm going away to Bali on Wednesday. So looking forward to escaping this cold weather, escaping Carlton shitness, and of course escaping SuperCoach and getting away and refreshing for NFL fantasy, which is the next thing on the agenda for me, and AFLW fantasy. So with that, ladies and gents, thank you as always for tuning in. Really appreciate your support as always. And as I said, don't forget, down below there, click that link, Blue Baggers Edge, if you're watching us here on YouTube at the moment. And I will be over there very, very shortly to do a bit of a live stream. Join me on there. We can chat about Carlton, how shit we are, as well as a bit of general AFL chit-chat as well. So with that, ladies and gents, we thank you, as always, for tuning in. And thank you, Jonas, as well, as you've said there, for tuning in. And we'll catch you in the next one. So hopefully you had a great week. We'll see you in the next one. All the best. Cheers.